Yes, yes it is. It's 2021.
It's Friday, January 1st, 2021, and you know what that means. It's the first wrestling club of the new year.
I'm back because I want to work with that young talent that had the same passion that I had stamped out.
Somebody stole my act.
Finding my favorites. Maki Ito is one.
I'm the cutest in the world. Fucking go! Yes!
Fukigen DEATH is another. And now I have a third to add to my Mount Rushmore.
Let's go, Lulu! You get excited for Lulu, Eddie.
I just love Lulu Pencil.
I want to give a big motherfucking shout out to Lulu Pencil and the Pencil Army.
I'm so happy to be a wrestler.
And the Coco Pro motherfuckers.
It might be the easiest thing for a non-wrestling fan to start watching.
Someone stole my $100 million egg.
The most criminal human being ever to step foot inside of a squared circle.
It's Darren and Brett. They're real motherfuckers. They're real gang members.
Don't you just love Jack in the Boxes?
Find my egg.
The mother of Trent Beretta, Stu Marashulo.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
But you know what a real money is?
100. Oh my God.
You don't need a hat to be a cowboy.
Brian Danielson, gotta cover. You're gonna kick a poor man while he's down?
If you think this man is a villain, you aren't from Long
Like if
Island.
you're someone who Jim Cornette thinks you're like a whippersnapper without respect for the business, like you're in pretty good company, right?
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett.
And we are Pencil Army.
Press play. There's the magic finger. Pressing down. Yeah.
The Wrestling Club with Darren and Brett. We've got a show that you'll never forget.
The WFMU's Wrestling Club, the only space that's safe for all wrestling fans, whether you're casual, lapsed, obsessed, or ashamed. Happy New Year, almost. My name's Darren Maybe. I'm broadcasting from my bedroom here in Jersey City, New Jersey, where tonight it's the final Wrestling Club of 2021, the last one of the year. We've done one every week, except for the weeks we didn't do one. And now we're going to be looking back at the year that was, our favorite matches, our favorite wrestlers, our favorite gimmicks, our favorite moments. It's going to be a little bit of, so hop in, get ready. We're going to be looking at how things used to be in a year that was kind of weird. Not great. It was better than the last one, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, let me introduce you to my tag team partner coming to us live from Hollywood, California via satellite. The Rory to my Robert, Robbie, Brett Davis. Brett, it's not Robert, it's Robbie.
Okay, yeah, the Highlanders.
There's the world's saddest tag team.
It's so sad how they
just,
oh yeah. Darren's doing the face.
I'm doing a little sitting, trying to be invisible, trying to sit invisibly at a TNA pay-per-view in 2005.
Yeah, Robbie McAllister went to TNA. They straight up put him on blast, put him on camera.
It's so
he was like in like row 12, but they like found a good angle of him, and he knew it, and he knew he was fucked. It's so funny.
It's so petty too, because in no way. I mean, first of all, what's TNA going to get from that, right? What are they going to get? Oh, wow, look who's here. All the superstars are here tonight from OVW. Anyway.
Well, this is a recap about 2007?
5, 6?
I'm going to say 6.
I think it's 6 too.
Yeah. But that's not really for from any knowledge of the Highlanders. But so we've got a nice recap we're doing today of the year that was 2021. I throw that year out there to you, Darren. What's the first thing that pops into your head?
It gets better.
Okay.
It started off so bad in looking in doing a little bit of a primer of the year leading up to this show. You know, I looked at January and February. I watched some Raw. I watched some WrestleMania back, and it was dark. It was terrible. You know, I mean, Wrestling Club, if it wasn't for Wrestling Club, I might have stopped watching wrestling in 2021 because it was so bad.
Yeah, certainly really stopped watching WWE. I mean, if it weren't for Wrestling Club, I wouldn't watch it at all.
Wait, we watch 15 seconds of it every week.
Yeah. just to see the puppets back. So far no puppet. But yeah, you know, it's there's been years when WWE's been bad and probably years when it's been worse, but there's never been a year when it's been so inconsequential.
What year has been worse than 2021? I mean, I guess you can say 2020, but 2020, it's almost like, okay, WWE gets a pass, right? It's the pandemic. They're doing, you know, they're going to build the Thunderdome. It's not going to be great, but they're doing the best they can with what the hand they've been dealt. 2021, there's no excuse. There's no excuse for piped in crowd noise at WrestleMania. As soon as the crowds come back, they erase them. They're like, no, we don't want them anymore. The releases, hundreds of wrestlers fired. Bye-bye. You know, and yeah, I mean, you say inconsequential. Yes, it's inconsequential. WWE, I don't know if WWE has ever been so inconsequential. You're right. But it's also been terrible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what can you think? I mean, you're looking back. Can you name 5 matches that happened in WWE this year? I mean, 5 matches.
I can because I just did a look back at the year, but
I guess that's true. Yeah. I was looking back, I couldn't believe it. John Cena wrestled all summer. What? What? I thought he was in China or Taiwan or whatever. I don't know.
Oh, well, yeah. That happened this year too, but
that was this year. I thought that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, Thunderdome feels like ancient, but they were doing Thunderdome in July, August.
I have like intestinal soreness that was going on when they were still in the Thunderdome. You know, I'm still not healed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's WWE's been very bad, but AEW has been a shining light.
Where would we be without AEW, Brett?
We'd be watching Impact.
Josh Alexander. Did he make your list this year? Did he get on that?
He's not on the Brett 500, unfortunately.
No. How about Dreamer? He's over at Impact. We'd be excited, like, oh yeah, dude, they're bringing Dreamer in. This would be great.
Dreamer's not really on camera.
Oh, he's on hiatus, right? He's at sensitivity.
Well, I guess he was on camera for Dark Side of the Ring.
Oh,
that's been a great highlight too.
You know what has been? Especially the first part of season 3 was so good. Second half of season 3 felt a little I don't know. Felt like cleanup. It didn't have the power of the first half of the season. Brian Pillman, Dynamite Kid. You know, these were great stories. Yeah, great stories. We love to tell.
Yeah. And you know, it's cool because it really kind of influenced the wrestling world. You know, Ric Flair got canceled from it, rightfully so. You know,
yeah, but until
a long time coming. Until
he's back doing the Mississippi Lottery, dude. He's doing fine. He's got his podcast where he makes stuff up. He like breaks wrestlers dead. He's like, oh, you know, Blackjack Mulligan. Is he dead? Actually, he is dead. Rest in peace. But you know, he's like, you know, you hear about Sam Houston. I can't do
Ric Flair.
I'm not really. Look, all right, it's not easy. Do you watch Woo Nation every week, Brett?
This is the first I'm hearing of it.
It's the worst looking podcast on YouTube.
That says a lot.
It's worse than the Conrad podcasts, which are visual assaults.
Yeah, they like it's the worst graphic design I've ever seen. But
Ric Flair's blocking is this. Only further away.
Yeah. Turns in the lower left-hand corner of his screen. Yeah, I don't listen to that. I barely listen to Wrestling Club, to be honest. I'll listen to Dave.
I've never listened to Wrestling Club. There are episodes I haven't heard because I wasn't here.
But by the way, congratulations to Cody Meltzer. They grow up
I
so
heard.
fast.
Congratulations to Cody and Trinity.
I don't know. Was that Trinity from ECW?
Yeah. Hey Cody, I got this this lovely lady I'd love you to meet.
Oh God. Well, yeah.
Cody Meltzer is engaged, in case you didn't know.
Yes, that's right.
Dave's son.
Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos to the Meltzer family. We're very invested, not so much in what Dave Meltzer has to say about wrestling, but everything else about his personal
There's
life.
nothing wrong with getting married young. It sounds like Dave was a little surprised. Cody's got to be what, 19?
I don't pay attention well enough.
Cody Meltzer, if you're listening to this,
call
podcast,
in. Call in. Darren, if people want to call in, can they call in?
They can call in. 800. Wait, no, hold on. 732-200 club. That's 732-200-2582. Give us a call. Tell us your thoughts on the year that was 2021. And if you're Cody Meltzer, give us a call. We're gonna talk some sense into you, kid.
Yeah, we'd like to hear what your favorite wrestlers, matches.
Yeah. And you know what? If we got any people, you know what I was trying to find for this show and I couldn't find it. There are like old issues of the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which have like defunct categories. One I had was strongest. So if you want to call in with who you thought was the strongest wrestler in 2021, that'd be great.
Yeah.
You know,
ugliest. Yeah. Who was your strongest wrestler, Darren?
Powerhouse Hobbs.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't think anybody's stronger than Powerhouse Hobbs.
What about Titan?
Powerhouse. Titan? Who's that?
So Adam Scherr, the Titan of Ring of Honor?
No way. Powerhouse Hobbs, fucking whip him from pillar to post.
Oh, them's fighting words. Well, get in on this conversation, we implore you. Yeah. Should we pepper these? Because we picked our favorites of the year. Should we pepper them in, or should we just kind of save them to the end?
Well, we could have figured this out. Get this in a little pre-production. No, it's fine. We'll break back the curtain.
Oh, sorry, I did all the pre-production for the show.
What? I plugged all these wires in, pal. I got a tough life here. Anyway, yeah. Why don't we mix them in? Because then it'll be a little mix and match. It'll give a little, you know what they call it, a little bit of make it a dynamic listen.
Darren, what was your favorite moment in wrestling of 2021?
You know what, Brett? That's real easy. I'll tell you right now.
Find my egg.
Yeah, we saw it in the intro.
We did. And everybody, please go back and look at the YouTube video of this show just to see Brett's amazing intro. I gave him the idea to do it. I told him, said, Brett, this is what needs to be done. And you know what? He really hit it out of the park. No, I'm just kidding. It was all Brett's idea. He did great.
Darren, if people maybe missed Survivor Series this year, and this was a pay-per-view storyline, can you just recap what the egg was?
The egg. So wait, this was Survivor Series? Okay. So basically, The Rock is doing some kind of show on Netflix, and there's a golden egg. It's a movie, whatever. What's it called?
Red Notice.
Red Notice. And there's an egg from the movie that apparently Dwayne The Rock Johnson sent to Vince McMahon. And Vince McMahon is so happy. He gets out of his limo. All the 24/7 wrestlers are standing outside the limo. They give him a round of applause. He's like, look at my egg. And then what happens? Someone steals the egg, and it's pandemonium backstage. Vince McMahon wants the police, the FBI, anybody come in, find my egg.
Find my egg.
And then what happens? The very next night on Raw, they find the egg. It was Austin Theory who stole the egg just to take a selfie with it. And that was the best storyline in WWE all year.
It was. And did you see the follow-up, Darren, where the eraser conversation?
No.
Yeah, so Austin Theory is now sort of under the learning tree of Vince McMahon. And
no, that's not good.
Vince said, you know what I like? Pencils, because pencils have erasers. And then he erases a piece of paper that seems like maybe a bad improv. And then he talks about how much he likes firing people.
Great. Austin Theory's got a lot to look forward to. I mean, at some point they're going to run out of wrestlers to release, right? So he's probably okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think Austin Aries I think Austin Aries has a future in WWE.
Wow,
what
an honor.
He's good enough, but he's not. He's not a one of those like. I mean, he was an Evolve guy, but he doesn't have that Triple H stink on him too bad.
Oh, thank goodness. So he's got that Johnny Ace.
Yeah,
think
NXT 2.0. Darren, what if we did a wrestling club 2.0? What could we? I mean, we'd obviously change the color scheme.
Yeah, we'd both have to de-age. We have to get that Scorsese de-ager.
I think we'd need more pronounced gimmicks. And maybe
we'd have to do like it'd have to be like a YouTube show. It'd have to be like we're talking and then there's a cut and it's just like a weird zoom on our faces, but that it doesn't need to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd be like, thanks for subscribing to our channels, guys. Hi, and welcome to our channel. Welcome to the Wrestling Club channel. Today I'm going to talk about things that I care about. I don't know. What do people talk about on YouTube? I don't know. You know what? With this show would be a lot more Denise Salcedo as opposed to Darren Maybe.
In the chat, shout out to Denise. We love you. In the chat, someone's commenting Harlan from NXT 2.0 is the most powerful. Darren, do you know Harlan?
No, but I don't have to know he's not as powerful as Powerhouse Hobbs. He's a powerhouse.
Do you remember that guy that looked kind of like Brock Lesnar that WWE hired?
Oh yeah, he's like a hot Brock.
They shaved his head and they put him with Joe Gacy, the woke safe space villain. Yeah.
Sucks.
It's been bad. And also Omos is a vote for the most
He's not strong, he's just tall. Doesn't make you strong.
He wasn't very strong when he got COVID this week.
Yeah, Powerhouse Hobbs still got no COVID.
They continue to advertise him for Raw. I heard.
Oh yeah, because I'm sure people were so disappointed.
I will say my favorite moment of 2021 had to be the debut of Maki Ito. We really got on the Maki Ito train right on time. She made her debut in the Women's Eliminator tournament, but really made her AEW debut right after that in the States. It was a well-kept secret. She was Britt Baker's mystery partner, or I guess replaced an injured Reba. And it was just, it was the first of many of our Japanese favorites coming to AEW for like a short stint.
Yeah.
Really just, those are some of my favorite moments of the year. But Maki with the big smile, doing the dance on the stage. Audio's off, but she doesn't care. She's loving it. The fans are going crazy, popping up in the Dark Order skits and stuff like that. Great.
The only criticism I have of her debut was that awful audio. I thought it just once again, and that was a real problem for AEW in the first half of the year, where their production ruined everything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Keith Mitchell's retiring. Have a good retirement, bud. But it might be the best. It might be the best.
Darren, let's talk about your least favorite moment of the year.
My least favorite moment of the year. Oh,
I'll give you mine. And it's just WWE in 2021. Because for all the reasons we talked about and
That's
more
right.
that we'll continue to talk about, can be a moment. And yeah.
Well, I didn't punt this one, Brett. I picked, and it's the wink heard round the world. Lily's wink. I wish I had the sound effect. Ding. So bad. The worst thing. You know,
Lily
WWE
was
horrible
explain
this
who
year.
Lily is real quick.
Lily, I don't even know exactly who Lily is because I didn't watch WWE television that much this year, but I know Lily was Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss had a little doll, this like little like Nightmare Before Christmas doll, because Alexa Bliss at some point in the last year turned into a hot 10-year-old and she played with dolls, but the doll was sentient or only Dewdrop could see the doll. Dewdrop also like terrible. So sad. I mean, I love Pipe. I love what Piper Nivens, right?
Piper.
Yeah. Oh, so bad. But yeah, this doll is just I don't know. It's just like the worst thing. It's all everything that's bad about the WWE Thunderdome era encapsulated in one wink. You know, it's there's no fans, so we don't even have to pretend anymore. We can do these awful cuts. We can do, you know, we're filmmakers. Well, no, you're not filmmakers. Like, go talk to, you know, I mean, Vince couldn't even make a movie as good as Lunatics. Check out our Christmas episode if you want to know more about that. It's so bad. It's so terrible. You know, the fake crowd noise. Oh, the sound effects. It's just, I was telling my girlfriend before, it's like the bottom. It's the worst wrestling I've ever seen. It's worse than like 1990 AWA, the tag team series. It's worse than the worst WCW. You know, it's worse than, I don't know. It's my least favorite wrestling. So it's the wink. That's the worst.
I mean, that's the thing. On paper, it's a good roster. It's a really good roster of people. All people, you know. I was trying to think of who in WWE I don't like. It's a pretty short list, but I mean, they're just killed by the production and Vince's booking and the sterile.
The production is okay in some ways. I mean, the show always looks good. It always sounds good. Well, it doesn't always look good, but it always looks fine, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the creative choices in that, whatever like system they have in place to create a television show needs to be like firebombed. They need to, like, somebody needs to go to, I don't want to start threatening here, making vital threats. So I'm just saying, like, it's awful. It's really bad. Has it gotten better? I don't know. Anybody in the chat want to like stand up for WWE?
Yeah, please.
You know, wasn't that actually a WWE campaign? Like, stand up for WWE. Like when like Benoit murdered his whole family with concussion juice in his brain or whatever.
It was actually when Linda was running, because everybody had such bad things to say about WWE. It was character assassination. So they had, you know, Nick Dinsmore show up and say like, hey, a lot of people are saying I played a mentally challenged character, and while that's true, I thought he was an inspiration to the fans.
You know, but the thing is, he does it. His like talking head is in the Eugene character.
Yeah, biting his thumb. In the chat, Eric's saying favorite story of the year is Rebels theme music. Can we pull up Rebels theme music? Reba Rebel.
Yeah, give me a second.
Because I don't know what it is. I'll give another award for the year.
Yeah. Well, like, you know, hold on, before we start giving away stuff, let's talk about the year that was. Let's get back to our recap, so it's not just all superlatives.
Yeah, well, we'll start first few months of the year. We had Wrestle Kingdom, one of the many sad Tokyo Dome shows of the year. It's 2 nights. I don't like the 2-night thing. I don't like it here. I don't like it at WrestleMania. Certainly, I don't like it 3 nights this year. We'll talk more about that in depth next week. We got Emily Pratt coming on. We're gonna do a little deep dive about Japan, but we saw Kota Ibushi against Tetsuya Naito on night 1. Kota Ibushi versus Jay White night 2.
That was a great match.
Yeah. Great
Yeah.
moment. And then just, bad luck.
I like 2-night Wrestle Kingdom. I'm a fan of it. I think it's okay to have two. It only for Wrestle Kingdom though, because those shows used to be so long, and Wrestle Kingdom has changed over the years anyway. It's not like WrestleMania as much. I mean, I guess it's always been January 4th, but I don't know. I thought it was worth trying. But last year and then this year they're doing 3 nights, which is like, oh, it's so bad. Not bad, but just
I mean, if you're complaining about,
they can't do it.
If you're complaining about that it's too long of a show, they're doubling the shows. They're not really making the individual.
Well, they made them a lot shorter. They made them a lot. I mean, Wrestle Kingdom used to be like a 7.5 hour show. Sometimes.
I mean, you start out with a Rumble, throw all those guys in there, especially the card this year. It's like there's like basic prelim matches that belong on the next night.
But hold on, now let's say if it's not COVID time, and night 1 is January 4th, Tokyo Dome, Okada, Bushi, Shingo, and then night 2 is New Japan versus AEW.
Well, the great.
Yeah, exactly. So
if ifs and buts were candy and nuts.
But that's where we would. But when they came up, when they decided they were doing 2 nights at the Tokyo Dome, it was January of 2020 when they were like, "We can do it. We got it."
Well, it's not the first time New Japan made a mistake banking on Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks being there.
True, but I'm just saying, I think they did the best with what they had. One thing about just my thought on coming out of that show, thinking back to it, is we haven't seen Jay White at all this year, and I was so excited for him to get that, just to be the top heel in wrestling. And then he went to Impact for like a couple weeks. Like, Jesus.
Yeah. We had the big Bullet Club Elite face off on Impact
on Twitch.
Yes. Twitch exclusive.
and then Tommy Dreamer pantsed Scott D'Amore on the next segment.
Yeah. Well, it's a weird time. You can't blame them for all of those things. Will Ospreay,
Brett, who won? Oh yeah, that was weird. Well, the whole championship thing, they combined the titles at Wrestling Kingdom, and then they made an ugly belt that looks like the butterfly belt kind of from the 2000s. And then Will Ospreay won it. Woke up in the morning and realized he was Will Ospreay, and then he went home. This is like, oh yeah, fuck, this sucks.
Yeah.
And then Shingo had it, and he was good. Kota Ibushi has high blood pressure. He's been out all year. He's like sick. He's got medical issues. I know we're jumping ahead here, but the only bright spot for New Japan in 2021, Brett, do you know what I'm going to say?
Does it begin with the great O?
Yes. The great O. No, it's Shibata. Shibata coming back. Mm-hmm. That's really the highlight of 2021 for me. His exhibition with Zack Sabre Jr. He's going to be wrestling at the Tokyo Dome next week. This is like the first bit of good news that's come out of New Japan in almost 2 years. So that's something to be hopeful about.
So unceremonious the way they just kind of threw it out there on a random show. It wasn't like, I'm coming back. It was like, by the way, this next match is.
He just walks out. But that's perfect. That's perfect.
That's
for
so
Shibata.
him. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's great. It's great. Yeah. It's something I'm really looking forward to next year.
I'll probably have more to say about this next week, but what are we doing with Zack Sabre Jr.? He's the best.
He is the best. He got that big push in the G1. It looked like he might win the whole thing. But
doomed to Tai Chi.
New Japan just has a little, I don't know. They lack energy in their booking. They feels like they're still treading water 2 years later, which they are. But Brett, what else happened in 2021?
Well, we started out the AEW big event cycle with Revolution, where we had the Kenny Omega John Moxley death match.
Boy, did you hear that blow? That was the sound of the sparklers just woozing through the air in Daly's place. That was one of the big disappointments of the year. You know, honestly, once we get to wrestler of the year, and I don't want this to be a spoiler for right later in the show, our favorite wrestler of the year. When I think to Kenny Omega and John Moxley in 2021, I think about that moment. Even, you know, and Moxley had a great year teaming with Eddie Kingston, and you know, and Omega was the champion for most of the year. He had the matches with Paige and Bryan, but that dud at the end of Revolution was such a dud that I don't know. I was going to ask you, Brett. Here's one from January before we jump ahead too far. Who won the Royal Rumble? I have no idea.
I had to look it up earlier today. I remember Bianca because that was such a great moment.
Oh yeah, see, I forgot Bianca won.
You know, if we're just talking about WWE, MVP of the year, sad she's has been forgotten. But Edge.
You know, I just want to say there are only 9 female wrestlers left on SmackDown.
I mean, with COVID right now.
Thank you, Johnny Ace. No, that includes that's if they have COVID, they're still on the roster, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But yeah.
I have no idea who won I'm gonna guess.
I just said it.
Well, Bianca won. I don't remember. I didn't hear the male winner. Was it Edge? Was it Edge?
Mm-hmm. You don't remember the big Edge and Christian reunion?
No. I forgot. Didn't Edge come back in 2020? He didn't come back in 2021.
He did both. Did the same exact thing. Although in 2020 he didn't win the Rumble.
You know who else? You know what else happened in WWE that I had no memory of? You know what this one is, right?
No.
The Miz was the world champion.
Oh yeah, that's right.
What?
And then he lost it. He was a heel and he lost it to a heel, Bobby Lashley.
He got squashed. He had the title for a couple weeks and just kept running away.
Yeah. Well, we had the Miz and Morrison revival, which, you know, they're fine. They'd be better served elsewhere, but in WWE it's just like so the same old shit. And you know, MVP is great and Bobby Lashley is fine. You know, he's serviceable in the role, but it's like, that's your WWE champion? That's your like top guy for the majority of the year?
When I think of 2021 in WWE, like the mental image I get is Drew McIntyre talking about his heritage over fake crowd noise.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like just real, there's nothing to sink your teeth into as a wrestling fan in WWE. Who are you going to get excited for? You know, there's nothing. I don't know. We sound so negative.
Well, I mean, the positives, you know, we talk about Moxley was great. Kenny Omega, the belt collector, wonderful.
Great. I love the gimmick. And, you know, with that scene at the end of Revolution where they lose it, you know, and this goes into, I was reviewing a couple personalities I had in mind for best non-wrestler, my favorite non-wrestler of the year. And one of those contenders was Don Callis, and his promo after Revolution, where he comes out and he says, "We planned it the whole time. We humiliated you. We embarrassed you." It really did prove that you can, through promos and just through how, you know, perspective of the characters on screen, that you can overcome mistakes, overcome bad booking. I still think about it at the end of the year, like, that was such a letdown.
Mm-hmm.
But AEW, you know, they're fluid. They roll with it. If something is working, they go with it. If something isn't working, they acknowledge it and move on.
Yeah.
And that's smart.
But they don't like just drop it, which is what WWE does, you know. Emelina, you know. Do you remember the Emelina is coming?
No, that's
weeks and weeks and weeks. Oh, and now they're doing it right now with one of the Indian wrestlers that, you know, I don't even remember his name because I don't.
No, you're thinking of the Evolution.
Yes, but she was Emaluding into Emelina. And then they just forgot about it, and then they brought back
evolution.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, there's the evolution. Although I think there was a evolution.
No,
yeah,
Emelina was Emma, the wrestler Emma Tennille Dashwood a couple of years ago with the same gimmick.
Yeah, but when Emma made her main roster debut from NXT, she would show up in the crowd with signs saying the evolution is here.
Shut up.
There is an evolution and there's an evolution.
I want to go back to something we mentioned before. We're going all over. Is this Reba Rebels theme song? Let's see.
Experience the power of.
We have a little bit of that. Let's wait for the ad. Actually, Ricola, I could use that.
Everyone smile. What is a dentist's favorite dinosaur? A velociraptor.
Everybody do the Reba giggle.
Oh shit. That goes hard.
I guess
that goes real hard. Yeah, Britt Baker. Let's talk about Britt Baker.
Britt.
What a turn. I couldn't be less interested in Britt Baker when she debuted in AEW. She was just the Ring of Honor, NXT, boring. She was Santana Garrett.
Yeah.
No offense to Santana Garrett, but she's
generic.
Generic, yeah. And then to do the turnaround, and it's a lot has to be said about it's AEW really putting the faith in the performer and saying, hey, we're going to make this a star. Britt Baker feels like bigger star in wrestling than anybody that wasn't one of the four horsewomen.
Britt Baker's rise is a testament to the idea that just because you're injured doesn't mean you can't get over. She was out for months and months, and she got over with the vignettes with Tony Schiavone, with Reba, whatever her name is, I forget. And now a year later, Britt feels like she's just so poised. I don't know if there's MJF who's so poised too, but out of like the young stars in AEW, next to MJF, she's the most poised. I feel like she has a lot of confidence. Mm-hmm. The only thing with her that kind of the only drawback for Britt Baker this year was, I feel like, a lack of competition. I don't think besides Thunder Rosa, I struggle to remember any feuds she had, anything that really sticks out. Mm-hmm. In kayfabe, she's wrestler of the year. She was champion for most of the year. She had that amazing match on Dynamite, the lights out match with Thunder Rosa, which is iconic. It felt like it's a real iconic moment in AEW history. I'm hoping 2022 is the year that AEW's women's division lives up to the potential that it's had, and gets the focus that it deserves. Look at the free agents out there now for AEW to pick from.
She just tweeted a picture today of Tony Storm,
Ember Moon.
Just released.
They just brought Mercedes Martinez in last night, which is I think that's great, especially put her with Jade Cargill. That makes so much sense.
Mm-hmm. And you got Jamie Hayter, who I absolutely love.
Yeah, Hayter's great. That's right.
Do that slow burn.
But that's a year down the road. I wouldn't want to turn Jamie Hayter now, especially with a similar storyline going on with Wardlow. But I think next year we're going to be I think next year is going to be Britt Baker's year. This year kind of was, but I think next year when she has the opponents to be the main event wrestler that she is, I think it's gonna, the sky's the limit. I hope they keep the title on her. I don't think she should lose it. There's no Tony Storm, Ember Moon, Thunder Rosa. There's nobody in AEW or out of AEW, I think, that should beat Britt Baker. I think she should be a long-term champion for them until somebody comes along that's young and is as charismatic and as poised as she is. That's my hot take.
WrestleMania. Let's talk about that. Delayed by 2 weeks and then delayed by 30 minutes because of rain, which was the most entertaining 30 minutes of WWE programming because nobody had a script. So you get Kevin Owens cutting a heartfelt promo and, doing like random like fights in the back. It was like real exciting. It's like, oh wow, there's actual anything can happen feeling in WWE.
I think if you took all of Vince McMahon's vices away and you put him in a dark corner that he had to fight his way out of with no script or anything, I think WWE would be fantastic. If they, it's all overproduced. That's the problem. So you see that, the WrestleMania rain delay, and it's such a breath of fresh air, or just a glimpse into a world that we'll never see again.
Yeah. I loved the first night main event, Bianca Belair, Sasha Banks. It felt like a moment, certainly a long time coming.
My WWE match of the year, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that many, but that was the one.
I saw a few. I liked, I like some of them, but this one really felt bigger than, the arbitrary WrestleMania designation of like a big match.
The moment where the bell rings and they're standing there, great. It's perfect.
Yeah.
And that's like
you wouldn't know the
moment.
Crowd is made of cardboard.
No, you wouldn't. And those are moments that WWE can do so well. That's why it's so frustrating when they just they don't give a fuck. So they don't do anything like that. They don't do anything that rewards the viewer, the fan, at all. But that was a moment where they really nailed it. So kudos to them. I'm so happy for Bianca. She had that great title reign. She had all those great defenses against all the great wrestlers. Oh no, she didn't, did she? No, she lost in minutes.
She lost in about like a minute. Yeah.
To Becky Lynch. And now what's she doing? Now she's in NXT 2.0.
Yeah, they shaved her head. They're branding her.
Good. Did they gave her like a dog gimmick or something?
She's just Lacey Evans now.
Oh, we didn't mention that in January. Lacey Evans announced she was pregnant, and Ric Flair was celebrating with her. There was that moment where it's like, oh, it's Ric Flair's baby in storyline. Remember, they were fucking. Remember, that was the storyline in WWE, that Lacey Evans and Ric Flair were fucking.
Speaking of olds, Hulk Hogan hosted that event with Titus O'Neil.
On his H phone, not his iPhone. His H phone. He hosted with Titus O'Neil. That's right. I take it back. I'm a Hulkamaniac through and through.
Darren, but what about what he said?
He's forgiven. Titus O'Neil forgave him. And Titus O'Neil, maybe not the sharpest tool in the shed, but probably a nice guy. He forgave him.
He's absolutely nice guy. Titus O'Neil is a saint. Never liked him as a wrestler.
They make him hang out.
Really, like, great person. God bless him for having to take that bullet. I mean, he's done so much good in WWE. It's hard to criticize him for doing that.
No, I don't criticize anyone in
WWE Hall of Famer.
Titus O'Neil?
Yeah.
He's in the Hall of Fame?
I think so.
No, I think he just won the Warrior Award. I think he just
I think that puts him in the...
No, that doesn't make him a Hall of Famer.
I'm going to look this up.
He's not a Hall of Famer. Hulk Hogan is again, though. He was, was, and then he wasn't. Now he is.
Yeah. Okay, he's a recipient of the Hall of Fame. It's a blurry designation. Yeah. Besides that, don't remember anything about WrestleMania Pirate 3 or 4.
I remember the fake crowd noise and just feeling like the pandemic would never end. because here we are at WrestleMania and there's a crowd and I can't hear them. I can see them, but I can't hear them.
Yeah. The only thing that really sticks out is like they brought out the roster to applaud themselves. And I just remember like, oh, some of these people are still employed, like Mia Yim.
Oh, I remember the most over wrestler at WrestleMania was Tamina. That was great.
Weird year.
I remember Roman beat Edge and Bryan at the same time. He beat both of them. I was like, okay, cool, I guess. Too bad for Bryan Danielson. His career is over.
Well, speaking of Bryan Danielson, I'm going to give out my favorite match award.
All right.
I'm going to say, and I know there were better matches. I know there were, but Bryan Danielson against Minoru Suzuki had me on the edge of my seat. I was cheering. It was such an exciting thing. The whole Minoru Suzuki USA tour, I got to see him wrestle twice.
That's so cool.
He stood next to me. If you saw the footage in the intro, I was, the recipient of a beer can shooting towards my head off of Minoru Suzuki's head. It was just cool, and it's cool to see him on a main stage like that. And it was one of Bryan Danielson's first AEW matches. It just had this very exciting energy to it, and they did so little and told a great story. The crowd was eating it up, and they wrestled for 30 minutes, and I don't think they did anything.
It was a great match. One problem with it. Why was it on YouTube? This is a great match. It's a dream match, but it was also it's the best throwaway match I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Bryan Danielson had a match that good or better. He's had a match that good or better every week since he debuted in AEW. I feel his matches with his match with Eddie Kingston was off the charts. The Omega match, the Page match. I love the Minoru Suzuki match. I know when you said that you were like, this is my match of the year, I said it's not my match of the year, but I understand. For me, my match of the year is the draw. I think pro wrestling.
There's been three really great draw matches.
That's
and any one of them could be a match of the year.
Absolutely. First, and I'm gonna do them in order that I'm gonna do them in reverse order. Bryan Danielson and Adam Page at whatever was that on Dynamite? Like what, 3 weeks ago? 60-minute draw. Classic match, the best Adam Page match I've ever seen, maybe the second best Bryan Danielson match I've ever seen. It's up there. Great match, a fantastic finish. Just a perfect classic 60-minute world title draw. Number 2, Grand Slam, Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson. A different kind of draw. I felt like a sprint. It was like the match it's like the match never even got started, but it was so good. For Bryan Danielson's first 5-star match, according to Dave Meltzer, which is funny. A dream match. The dream match, Minoru Suzuki and Bryan Danielson's a different kind of dream match. Kenny Omega versus Bryan Danielson are the two best wrestlers of their generation going at it at the first AEW stadium show in New York. So great. But my match of the year is Utami versus Shuri. Siri.
Sure.
The announcers pronounced her name many different ways during that match. Utami Hayashita and Shuri in June in Stardom for the red belt. I just rewatched that match today, and I am going with that for my match of the year. Here's why. That was the best match of the pandemic era, in that it was a match in front of fans that could not cheer or boo. It's a darkened arena. There's not a lot of people there. And they had a match that had more drama, is more hard hitting. There was more desperation in that match. It was like it was so physical and real, and it ended with, well, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but you really have to watch that match. It's the finish of the year, in my opinion. So that's my match of the year.
And it tells a great story. Shuri, she's, in her early 30s. She's been everywhere. She was in karate. She was a kickboxer. She was in Pancrase. She was in UFC. She wrestled in CMLL. She got to Stardom, and she already had all this like under her belt already, and was getting kind of lost. She was like, what, the third most important member of Donna Del Mondo, and then wins the 5-star Grand Prix. Maybe that happened after, but she gets to this title match where she's wrestling Utami, who is just this wonderkin, 23 years old, also like a skilled judoka, but
sure,
it's like,
but they both have skills outside of pro wrestling, but they are pro wrestlers. The selling in that match, Utami reminded me of 90s Bret Hart, and just that she's an amazing seller. The drama that she, whatever, you fucking know, it's wrestling. It's wrestling, and they're so good at it, and it was so physical, and it was like a new style, right? Adam Page and Bryan Danielson is the classic match. It's a match we've seen, I don't want to say hundreds of times, but dozens of times in wrestling. This is the classic world title draw. Kenny Omega and Bryan Danielson is the dream match of a generation. Utami versus Shuri is the match of the future. People are going to look back on that match in 10, 15 years and say, this is how you do pro wrestling. The kicks, the submission work, Shuri's submission work. She's the best MMA based pro wrestler of all time, in my opinion. She's better than, who's better at that style? Who can do more with the kicks and the submissions, but also be a great wrestler with great selling and great pacing? I can't say enough about that match. That's my match of the year. I'm sure of it.
We both picked Joshi wrestlers for favorite gimmick, so let's talk about that. Darren,
this was a tough one. This was a
very
really
tough for
hard.
Me,
I left on the cutting room floors. I don't want to leave anybody out. Pull up my list here because this was just, I thought about, well, maybe I'll pick Maki Ito, but I was like, I know Brett's we're gonna talk about Maki, so, but I don't, and her gimmick is not just from this year, and then there's people like Matt Cardona who, like, his gimmick as this, the WWE wrestler on the indies is great, and it was so classic and so memorable. His feud with Nick Gage was great. There's Sad Corbin, who was somehow a high point of WWE television. There were the Young Bucks, who are a team whose gimmick I've always hated, but this year, they just turned it up to 11 and made it so ridiculous every week. I was excited to see it. There was the Redeemer, which maybe, like, that's definitely my favorite gimmick in AEW, but my pick for gimmick of the year, Fukigen Death.
Yeah, really great.
For no other reason than it makes me laugh every single time, and that's what a gimmick should do. A gimmick doesn't, like, the Redeemer is a great gimmick, but Miro's not a gimmick wrestler. Miro is a fucking weird wrestler. Fukigen Death is a gimmick. Like, there's nothing to the presentation of the wrestler beyond the gimmick. It's all gimmick, and that's why, shout outs also to Starlight Kid, who also got inducted into the dark side. What's that team called? I forget.
Odeyo Tai. From Fukigen Death to Murder, Death, Kill. I bounced around, but Nick Gage is my favorite gimmick of the year.
Really?
I don't like deathmatch wrestling, but deathmatch wrestling now has their own junkyard dog.
True.
And you were there when we saw Nick Gage live, and it was my first exposure to him, and I was like, I don't like this at all. But there is an ECW energy he creates, like a real wild thing that you really need to experience in person. I'm lucky enough to live down the street from where they do GCW shows here in Los Angeles. I got to see it a bunch of times. Every time there's this electricity in the crowd just before he comes out. People are putting on their ski masks, and it's like they make a mosh pit when he comes out.
Right.
It's wild, and the matches are whatever. But he had two very classic matches in the span of a week. He had his match with Matt Cardona, who also I thought considered for best gimmick, being the guy on the indies who is fully in love with WWE.
It's so great.
Talking about the GCW universe and bringing out his dumb title belts and his toys and his cosplay and his hot wife, and just, being the ultimate anti-indie heel. But Nick Gage was, defending it, and he gave Matt Cardona a real life death match that was hard to watch and wild to see. And then he went on to show up in AEW, which I would have never guessed.
So fucking fun. So weird.
And, take the pizza cutter to Chris Jericho's head just before a Domino's commercial plays picture in picture. It's he'll never ever be my favorite gimmick again. But in this year, him doing that shtick with the results it had, the Dark Side of the Ring episode,
right?
Putting him on the map, all that has been really great to see.
Love Nick Gage. He's a real life folk hero, and Matt Cardona and Nick Gage feels like a masterclass in the wrestling textbook that ECW wrote in the 90s. It's the best parts of ECW without the spanking. So
yeah,
great.
Darren, what was your least favorite gimmick?
Oh, this was easy. I didn't even have to think about it. Rick Boogs.
Rick Boogs.
Oh, I hate it so much. I
wouldn't mind it so much if it weren't. Well, yeah,
because it's Shinsuke Nakamura, who is, he's my favorite wrestler of the last 10 years. I love Nakamura so much, and I know he's been in WWE and it's been a letdown most of the time, but if Nakamura's in the title picture or Nakamura's getting a push, I'll always check it out.
Yeah. You throw him in New Japan again, easily one of the most exciting wrestlers in the world.
If he walks out at AEW, he's the most over person in AEW. There's nobody with more charisma than Shinsuke Nakamura. There's nobody that can get anything over like him, except that pile of shit that he has to fucking stand next to, that garbage human. I don't know. He's probably a nice guy, maybe. The most generic, it's like if OAN wanted to make a comedy show, the most generic 80s presentation, the mustache, the hair, the headband, the suspenders. There's never been a wrestler that was good with suspenders, by the way, or the whatever he's got on. He was terrible until he got rid of the suspenders.
What about Steve Kern?
Yeah, I stand corrected. Anyway,
what about Demolition? They wore suspenders, kind of.
Not Boogs. It's not Boogs. Okay, it's not his look. His look sucks, but he plays the guitar out of tune every week. He can't do the lick. It's so bad and it's so loud, and I just hate it. I hate it so much, more than anything. So that's my worst gimmick of the year.
I thought he had a big upside when he debuted in NXT and had one single match. Eric Bugenhagen.
That was great. That was different, though. It's a totally different character.
Totally different, yeah. Or not totally different, but it wasn't.
He wasn't playing fucking guitar.
Yeah, he was playing air drums.
Just like Guitar Hero. Like he's not not even getting far in Guitar Hero. You know, it's not good. Somebody give this man a book of tabs, a tablature.
Darren, I'm going to talk about my least favorite gimmick.
What's your least favorite gimmick, Brett? Joe Gacy.
I mentioned it before. I don't need to talk about it, actually. Let's move on. Favorite promo, Darren? I'm going to say the return of CM Punk.
I'm going to say Punk versus Eddie in the ring, face to face. Just doesn't get any better than that. My two favorite promos of probably the last 30 years. Just talking. We had the debut of CM Punk in August. Right.
And he's been great. Maybe it wasn't the earth moving thing that some people built it up to be, but he's been consistent. He can roll with the punches. He played heel in Long Island when you guys were there, and he's
Punk's been great.
He had the great MJF promo.
Yep.
It could easily be the Eddie Kingston promo for me, but I think that return one there's never been more energy I've seen in a thing. That should have been the moment of the year, but I didn't want to give everything the same award. But
that's how I felt too. I love that. I love that promo. Punk and Eddie, though, just there's something about the blocking of those two in their respective corners, and they're gonna talk, and just being so hyped for that. I love Eddie Kingston.
Going back to look at the year, let's take a look at spring and a summer. We had Double or Nothing with the Pinnacle Inner Circle Stadium Stampede. That was fun. Kind of a rehash of the better one the year before, but
yeah, I loved. I was not a lot of people. Some people were negative on it. I was a big fan of Inner Circle and Pinnacle. I loved all the twists and turns, even the ones that didn't. Even the ones that didn't necessarily work out. Like Hoovy comes in, that's kind of weird. But
oh yeah, I was confusing. I forgot Hoovy also came in this year. I was gonna say my favorite moment is when they roll. There's a nightclub that's happening in the stadium in a pandemic, and Conan is the DJ and hanging out at the bar. FTR and Tully, and they're in their 80s horseman bunkhouse stampede gear with the little neckerchiefs and the low cut shirts, including Tully. They look like elder gays, and they have a little fight with Santana and Ortiz, who walk in. The music stops. It's fun. Why did they stop a match to go have a beer and then be surprised? It didn't make sense, but I didn't care.
It was fun. It was fun, and that was kind of the beginning of the end of pandemic wrestling. It felt like we were kind of coming out. The world was thawing a little bit at the time.
Yeah.
Oh, how wrong we were.
There was also some wrestling that happened at the Olympics this year. We saw two Olympic gold medalists from the USA, Gable Steveson and Tamira Mensah-Stock, both who then wound up appearing at SummerSlam.
No clue. Brett, we don't talk about fake wrestling on this show.
Well, Derry, we got it because Gable Steveson is set for a WrestleMania debut. He has already been drafted to Raw. He hasn't even appeared yet.
His name is going to be like Braxton Goober on NXT 3.0.
I don't know. I think they're going to really put they signed him.
He's going to wrestle in a silk shirt.
I'm not saying that's not going to happen, but I will say when I watched the two of them, I saw Gable Steveson. He seemed like every Jack Swagger that's ever stepped in the WWE.
Hell yeah.
And Tamira Mensah-Stock, who wasn't signed, but did pop up on NXT recently. She had so much charisma. She seems like the exact kind of person that Vince McMahon wouldn't like, but maybe the gold medal would change his mind. But, they signed Gable Steveson, who's, if you Google him, he's got some allegations that maybe could have.
Were they alleging that he was a good guy or alleged?
They're actually alleging him that he was not a great guy in college. And
but it's college. The thing you ever see Animal House? That's what college. That's what my college experience was like.
A little bit louder now. Yeah, I've been there. But you know, he has these accusations and they're lingering.
What,
and
accused that in college? Did they accuse him in college of being a premier athlete, student athlete?
Yeah, that's actually what it was. You could do the looking. I don't want to linger on this because we got to talk about All Out, my favorite event of the year.
Yeah, this was Brett and I both agreed this was the show of the year. It's impossible. It's the show of the decade, the show of a generation. This was WrestleMania 17. This was WrestleMania 3. This was Calgary Stampede or Canadian Stampede. What's that one called? I forget. But this is the best show AEW's done. My moment of the, I picked my moment of the year as the egg. But the end of this show was the best ending of a show I've ever seen. Adam Cole comes out. It's like, wow.
Everybody's chanting for Danielson, and Adam Cole comes out.
And Adam Cole comes out. And it's like, oh, this is cool too, though. Like, this is all right. You don't feel, you were like, okay, we're not going to get Danielson because we got Adam Cole, and that's fine. That's great. I'm not disappointed. And then Bryan Danielson comes out and like literally I jumped. And let's face it, okay? I'm best on the ground, flat, but I leaped in the air.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of like, hey, look, I know you wanted a dog for Christmas, but it just wasn't in the cards. Here's a PlayStation. By the way, here's also a dog.
The dog comes out of the PlayStation.
Yeah. And also here's Minoru Suzuki. And we had Kenny and Christian, which was serviceable.
Again, fine.
It's crazy that the greatest main event or the greatest pay-per-view of all time had like such a whatever main event, but Christian was new and fresh and certainly earned his place. And
it had a tag team match of the year on that show. Lucha Brothers and Young Bucks in the cage.
Lucha Brothers real great all year. Exciting. They're feuding with FTR. Yeah, it's been great. Also,
who is your team of the year? Who's your tag team of the year?
I gotta say FTR. And maybe wouldn't have been them.
Wow.
Maybe wouldn't have been them, but then they added the Moroder music and the retro graphics.
I do love FTR. I had a lot of trouble with tag team of the year. My favorite team is the Lucha Brothers, but they got fucking Alex what's his head? Penta says.
Yeah.
Give them Conan. Okay. If I have Conan come in and do their promos, that's my favorite team of the year. FTR, I love, but FTR kind of had, they were second fiddle for most of the year. I felt like they were in the pinnacle, which is fine. And then it was like towards the end of the year, they really got their groove on. That's a weird way to put it. They got the Moroder song. They got Tully, who I love. But I had to pick the Young Bucks for team of the year, which is so funny because I've just never been a Young Bucks fan until this year when they became the worst looking humans ever on television.
Yeah.
The strawberry blonde hair, the Janet Jackson nose to ear piercing, the horrible facial hair, the danglies, the backwards leather cap, just every week coming out with somehow dressing worse every week.
If you watch Being the Elite, you can see them every week going into like Marshalls or whatever, like shitty, and just getting the gaudiest thing and like coming out with giant bags.
And then Lucha Brothers, great, right? The best Lucha Brothers match this year is with the Young Bucks. FTR, their best matches are with the Young Bucks. Jurassic Express.
I will say I really liked their match in Mexico where we had the whole, Penta family.
Oh yeah. No, I just think it was Lucha Brothers would have had it, but fucking Penta says guy is just at the bottom of my list. He's the worst. I feel bad. Maybe he's a nice guy.
I'm sure he is. He's been in wrestling
I'm not
for
sure.
years and years.
I'm not sure. Penta says. Oh, anyway.
I mean, we talked about NXT 2.0, but that also happened in September.
Yikes.
I wasn't into NXT that much, but it was sad to see it go because it's, it wasn't fully bottom of the barrel. Now it is. They had their War Games pay-per-view that was sort of like a kiss off to, the Kyle O'Reillys and Johnny Garganos, and now it's just FCW. I don't know.
I heard someone call it USWA today, and I was like, that's right. Like 97 USWA, where it's like Jerry Lawler and the Snowman or something, and then the worst wrestlers you've ever seen. People who have just not wrestled yet.
Yeah. There's two guys who almost won worst gimmick of the year. There's Josh Briggs or Josh Woods.
No clue.
There's a Ring of Honor guy. I don't want to confuse them.
Oh, how good. It's very nice of you, Brett.
Oh, yeah. So I guess it's Josh Briggs, because Josh Woods is the Ring of Honor guy. And he's in a tag team with this other guy. I don't even know. No, Brooks Jensen. Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. And their gimmick is like, we're just Southern boys. That's it. Like,
right.
Yeah, we're, we like cold beer and a thick steak. Like, it's so nothing. It's almost existing to personally upset me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically me.
Yeah, that's true.
And they're baby faces, I think.
Yeah, that's always tough. It's always tough. It's it's hard for you to tell if a Southern team is baby faces or heels. It's hard for you to
I have a slight bias.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, but my being from Jersey, I love my Tony D'Angelo. No, I don't love him, but
no.
That's one that sticks out. Speaking of Tony D'Angelo, you guys might have delivery at your front door.
Was that the DoorDash?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I was getting that message like 30 minutes ago. I thought it was the pizzeria you sent it from.
Mm-hmm.
You sent it from was the name of the pizzeria at my mom's house. So I'm like, how did my mom get my DoorDash info? She's got pizza. I'm like texting my mother while we're doing this, like, Ma, I think somebody's at your house. You need to go check.
I would have done it last year.
Thanks, Brett, for scaring my mother.
I would have done it last week for the Christmas party, but we were overwhelmed with Sue's mom and Chuck Corby.
Oh my God, Chuck Corby, Sue's mom. It's amazing. I wish we could have had them on I wish we could have had them on at the same time.
You called Sue's mom the rookie of the year, but she debuted in 2020.
She did.
So who is your rookie of the year?
Let's do it together, Brett.
1, 2, 3. Hook. Yeah.
Could be anybody else.
So cool.
I mean, Braun Breaker, right? That's the other one.
I don't like him that much.
Yeah, he's not that great. I would love him if he was in AEW on Team Taz, though.
I just can't get behind a guy with a goatee in 2020. I know he's a Steiner, but it's weird.
Right, you haven't been to New York. You haven't been to New York in a while. Goatees are back. In New York, they're back.
Yeah, but that's not Braun Breaker's excuse.
No, he's got a Midwestern goatee.
Hook.
Anyway,
really great debut. You got to see it live.
I did. I'll always remember it.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about our favorite team. You said the Young Bucks.
Yeah, I said the Young Bucks.
I'm gonna say the Killer Queens.
Oh, you said FTR.
Well, I lied. I didn't know we were actually talking about the specific award. I liked FTR, but I'm gonna give this to the only wrestling trio that all of them are in the official wrestling club: Emi Sakura, Lulu Pencil, Mai Saruga. The beginning of this year, these were like little secret. I mean, Emi had been in AEW, but I particularly got very into Choco Pro. Mai Saruga, they would do these watch-alongs, and she'd watch AEW, and then to see her pop up. And Lulu Pencil, I'll have more to say about her later, but you know, them doing their little updates from around the stadium, them doing the Junkin games, Choco Pro USA, which we are officially members of.
Cool.
You know, it's in ring. They put on entertaining matches on Dark, but it was just something more than that. They seem to, you know, just watching them acclimate to the US and then just having a, you know, now they're talking to Eddie Kingston. Oh, now they're talking to Taz. Oh, now they're talking to CM Punk. Oh, now they're talking to Tony Khan. You know, it was fun to watch.
I love the perspective they bring to being a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
Because that's really what it is. Really, their gimmick is that we're fans and we're having fun, and it's a bad year, and we're just gonna have fun. We're gonna approach it in a way that we can't fail. You know, it's a very inspiring group. I do love them too.
Yeah.
I said my favorite tag team was the Young Bucks, but you know, if I'm being honest, my favorite team, Sting and Darby.
Yeah.
Love it. The best use of a legend ever in wrestling, ever. Somebody that old doing that, doing this, the jumps and the flips, and
he's in his 60s.
He's in his 60s, 63 years old.
It was like Luthez.
He's like Luthez. I want Luthez to be with Sting and Darby. Paint him up.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite non-tag team of 2021. Just fantastic.
Well, let's go back, wrap up the year recap. We had Full Gear, Hangman Page and Kenny Omega, the story that's been threaded out through since the beginning of AEW, really.
Yeah, excellent. The only part with that show that was a little bit of a disappointment was I feel like they had some timing issues. They only got a 10-minute match with Punk and Eddie Kingston, and that was like a match I've been looking forward to more than any match ever in history because of the promos.
Mm-hmm.
But there was that great MJF Darby match that opened it up, which was like the best match I've seen of either one. So that was cool. Love that show. Great. Yeah.
And then but only because I'm thinking about it, did somebody get the pizza?
I think the pizza's down. I think it's outside.
Well, yeah.
Well, I gotta do. I'm doing a podcast. I'll send my nurse.
Send your nurse.
There's pizza on the front. Outside.
We had Survivor Series, which had the main event of Roman Reigns and Big E. You know, Big E's championship win was such an afterthought. And
Big E, he's the champion.
You know, it should have been such a big moment, and it was a big moment, but he deserves better. And then, you know, for him to be the WWE champion, but then it's like, well, now you have to face the actual ace of WWE. It's sort of just like why, you know, if you're gonna have two world champions, maybe don't make them wrestle, or at least build to it to be a big match to determine the true person. Because if you put the title on Big E and then immediately have him lose to Roman, what does that mean?
Yeah, go get the pizza. Now, the thing is with Big E, it's so disappointing. We really haven't touched on Roman Reigns at all, but obviously Roman and Paul Heyman have been great through the pandemic. It's been a gimmick that suits Roman Reigns, his strengths better than anything he's done outside of the Shield. And I remember when he got over as a heel, my thought was like, okay, you got a great heel. Who's going to be the baby face that's going to come in and unseat him? And I thought Big E was the one to do it, because Big E you have Roman and the Usos, who are family, but Roman manipulates them and plays one against the other. And then you have the New Day, who are just three guys that are best friends. And I just thought that dynamic contrasted with the Roman dynamic would have been so cool
Mhm.
for a babyface heel feud.
But
But
WWE
it
needs to
was
get stuck on their, arbitrary
Raw
division.
versus SmackDown. There's no bigger feud in wrestling, Brett, than Raw versus SmackDown.
I mean, if on paper, yeah, you're right.
What's better? The two biggest shows. The Blue brand, Team Blue.
I gotta say that speaking of the bloodline, that is the one thing I do keep up with WWE. I watch
Sure.
Paul Heyman promos. I watch, Roman and the Usos, and it's consistent. It's maybe a little boring, but that's what happens when you have somebody on TV every week treading water.
Heyman's fantastic. There's nobody better at what he does, which is funny because we haven't talked about our favorite non-wrestler yet.
Yeah. I said Taz.
That's a great choice. Why'd you pick Taz?
Heyman was great, but there's something about Taz who I've never cared for that much. And now I'm just so invested, so tickled by him. He's got, Brooklyn softball dad energy that he brings to the show. You could tell he's having the best time of his life. He gets to see his kid Hook, and
sure,
his interplay with Ricky Starks on Rampage is fun. It's been great. Team Taz is a great act.
This has been a year where AEW's rise in general has been, the rebirth of the manager role, which has been great. Somebody like Dan Lambert, I would love if he wasn't such a mid-carder. I think he's funny. I like his promos. He's just building up a bunch of bozos to me. Imagine if he had Brock Lesnar. You know what I mean? It would be so much. It would just give him gravitas that he doesn't have. Then I thought about Don Callis, who was channeling the best of Bobby Heenan this year when he's leading the Elite with Kenny Omega, but he's really only there half the year. So because I couldn't decide between two pretty good choices, I went with the best choice, and I think I wrote it as Falling Arn with a Gun.
Yeah.
I love Arn Anderson. His promos are bizarre. Cody has been a very intriguing act in all of its stupidity and all the mistakes. Is there a wrestler whose gimmick is that I make so many mistakes more than Cody Rhodes? You know what I mean? He's just got a lot of problems. It never works out for him. And Arn just being this old, upset coach, and then he's gonna pull the gun and he's fucking building the fire and he's got all these weird things going on. I don't know. There's no non-wrestler that gave me as much joy as Arn with a gun. So that's my pick, Arn Anderson.
We ended this year with ROH Final Battle. I didn't watch much ROH, but I did watch this show. I really hope for their sake that they do. You were talking about firebombing. ROH needs to be firebombed. They're always going to have that Sinclair connection, which I'm never going to love. But, you got the legacy there. It just needs a fresh coat of paint. They were starting to bring in GCW people, which was exciting because GCW has this, like I said, this like ECW energy. I've got to see it live a bunch of times. There's an energy in the crowd, and when you go see ROH, I don't think that energy is there.
No, well, ROH didn't have a crowd for the past couple of years.
Yeah,
I will say, farewell to ROH. I'm happy Jonathan Gresham is their champion, their final champion. That makes the most sense. I got
to see a ROH title match just a few weeks ago.
That's what I'm about to say. Like, I feel like a touring ROH champion is like there's some history there. There's like some, the ROH title means something. I think, even though it's, ROH has had a couple bad years, it's still the title of Samoa Joe, CM Punk, Bryan Danielson, Nigel McGuinness, Kevin Steen. The list goes on and on.
And he's got the old belt too. He's got that belt now.
So, I like the idea of like this ROH touring champion that's on the indies and it's like, well, GCW, yeah, Matt Cardona, you're a great champion, or Nick Gage, you're a great champion, but I'm the Ring of Honor champion. I have history behind me. And I think it like fills that void we've always wanted the NWA title to fill. Like, I feel he's always been like, oh, you just put the NWA title out there and that'll mean something. But, the NWA title hasn't meant anything in half a century.
Mhm.
So I think the ROH title is like a good modern version of that. I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, with Final Battle, it's there's all these multiverse movies that are out now, and it kind of felt like ROH entering the multiverse because they've kind of been an island to themselves with the Forbidden Door. And then it's like, okay, Roxy, who is great. I like her a lot. Just did the WWE tryout, so maybe I won't like her anymore. But she won her match against Willow Nightingale, who was also really great. AEW, somebody needs to pick her up. She's fantastic.
Definitely.
What a baby. Deonna Purrazzo comes out, and it's like, oh, okay, well, the women's title could float off to Impact. Deonna Purrazzo has been the champion. Britt Baker's been pushing for a match with Deonna. Right. I don't know why nobody's done that yet. Deonna Purrazzo.
Gotta make it a priority. They gotta make it a priority.
Yeah, we talk about the Britt Baker makeover as far as like personality. Deonna Purrazzo just went from, the most forgettable act to, feels like what Charlotte Flair should be,
Right.
And then, we had the Briscoes and FTR. They had a big feud, so maybe the tag team titles are going off, to AEW.
You excited for them boys? You excited for them boys coming in?
I got to see them wrestle PCO and Brody King.
I don't know. I feel like Briscoes would do very
also
well.
Mark Briscoe talked to me. I didn't mention that.
Hey, Miller.
Yeah.
Could you understand him?
I understood him, but
what was this? What did
he's certainly scared?
What did his breath?
I was with a non-wrestling. I wasn't that close. It was outdoors, but I was with a non-wrestling fan who was open to the idea, but certainly was like, wow, what a personality to meet.
What do you think Mark Briscoe's breath smells like?
Raw chicken.
I don't know what to say. Delaware dirt.
Darren, who is your favorite and least favorite wrestler of the year? This is our final topic of the night.
All right. My least favorite. I saw you didn't have. We had a little document.
I have one. Yeah.
And Brett didn't have his filled in, and I filled mine in immediately. Very easy. Jackson Riker.
Yeah.
It was like in a pushed match at WrestleMania with Braun, Shane McMahon, and Elias. 3 other candidates for this award. But Jackson takes it. He's got a stupid name. He's a fucking Nazi, I guess, in some ways, or sympathizer.
Yeah.
Ugly, stupid, bad wrestler. Did I mention he has a stupid name? I thought his name was Jason, but then it's like, no, it's Jackson.
With an X.
With an X. Stupid. Terrible. Bad wrestler. And
his previous name wasn't any better. Gunner. And his name before that wasn't any better. It was Phil Shatter.
Fuck this. Who is your least favorite?
He still wrestles Tyrus. The Fox News talking head, who's always on that dumb fucking show.
I almost picked just as mine, just a screenshot of NWA Power with Tyrus and fucking what's his name, Adrian Street. That's not Adrian Street. Who is that?
I don't know.
There's like an old guy. There's like an old
Austin Idol.
Austin Idol.
Yeah.
Just like these guys. Well, best wrestler was tough for me. Favorite, I had it. I part of me wanted to pick Eddie Kingston. Especially after Colette's article about him.
Really great. Check out
really.
Colette. She wrote this incredible defense of Eddie Kingston being the best wrestler, and it made me think about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was really close for me, but that promo, I gave him the promo. And then there's Bryan Danielson, who, if the year was the last 3 months, is obviously the wrestler of the year, the best wrestler I've ever seen. Um, but I'm sorry, his like SmackDown run isn't enough for me. He had 3 months. It wasn't enough. Kenny Omega was great, but the performer who every week in and week out on Dynamite was just, I had to watch. It was must watch wrestling when he was on. He had great feuds all year, and it feels like, he had his breakout performance in Long Island. It's MJF is my wrestler of the year. He's my favorite wrestler of 2021.
Yeah, I mean, he's certainly been entertaining.
I don't think he's been the MVP of Dynamite every week. He's not had, I don't think he's flubbed a segment yet. Even like, I know some of the inner circle stuff was a little silly because it's fucking Jericho, but when he turns on them, that's this year when they show up in his locker room to get him back. Like, it's just, I don't know. It was great. He's like just such a great heel, so entertaining. And I saw a glimpse of the future when MJF is the top babyface in the world when I saw him wrestle in Long Island, and I can't wait. So, yeah, MJF.
I oscillated on this a lot. There's a lot of great cases to be made. Kenny Omega was the belt collector. Felt like, we're talking about wrestlers popping up in other companies, him popping up in AAA and Impact. It felt very special. But Bryan Danielson was somebody who objectively, I think, was the best wrestler.
Wow.
For if we're just taking a look at what he did in such a short amount of time in AEW, and he also, like, let us not forget, he headlined WrestleMania. That was a good match.
It was good.
Yeah,
it was fine.
Like, that should on paper give it to you, but I changed my mind at the last minute. Who captured my heart more this year than Lulu Pencil?
That's it.
Pencil Army. We talked about it before. Like, Choco Pro was kind of reignited my love of professional wrestling in a unique way. They do this DIY show in a converted pharmacy. We had Ami Sakura, we had Lulu Pencil, Mei Saruga, Bayanaki, all come on the show. We send a lot of emails that don't get returned. And then even when we do get people on the show, sometimes it's like twisting the arm to get a good interview, but they were so gracious and so kind. And Lulu, the story, that we followed of her career, and just to see the most unlikely person, the most unlikely wrestler I've maybe ever seen. Getting started late in life just out of like curiosity, and then doing the great matches. She had the match with Chris Brooks and Choco Pro was really great. Told the story as a 30-minute Iron Man match. And then for her to pop up in AEW and stuff, it really felt like, when your favorite indie band makes it big. That's what it felt like. And it felt like, we played a little role in Lulu Pencil going from like, something that only hardcore Joshi fans know about to something that, if you follow AEW closely, you're familiar with. If you read the PWI 500, there's a Lulu Pencil cover. We had Kevin McElvaney on, who's the editor, and he's like, yeah, there's something special about her. So yeah, it inspired me. It's been a tough year. Seeing somebody like Lulu make it, that really did it for me. So who else but Lulu Pencil for my wrestler?
Great. That's great. I mean, I know you wanted to, I know Happy Corbin was one you really cared about.
I like Happy and Madcap Moss. I couldn't pick between the two.
I got Madcap Moss. Is he? Okay. I have not seen this gimmick. Is it like a swing gimmick? Is he like a suit riot?
Well, they wear like fedoras. It's sort of like a high roller gimmick, but they're so happy. I don't hate it. For two wrestlers that are like the fucking pits. Just making them like dance, and they come out and it's like a slot machine goes off. It's
fine. Well, 2021, the year that was. Brett, you got any hopes for 2022?
None I care to share.
Okay.
They're private.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope you get it. I hope you get the attention you need.
Yeah.
Medical.
As far as wrestling goes, once the forbidden door is already open and closed so many surprising times this year, hopefully we get through this pandemic. Like, even talking about it is just like, ugh, kill me, especially after this week. But if things can get a little better and we can see more intermingling of people where it's not a health risk, it's going to be so much fun to be a wrestling fan. And it's been a fun year just for that reason alone. So I'd like to see more of that.
I'm hoping that the Owen tournament is G1 level. Even if it's not a round robin, I hope it has the storyline and the intrigue and the excitement. I love tournaments, and AEW does a lot of tournaments, and that's the thing I'm looking forward to most in 2022. I think is we've seen the Forbidden Door. Hopefully, it opens for the Owen tournament. I feel like it has to, and we will.
Yeah, that should be like the Super J Cup 90, 92 or whatever.
Yeah,
we should see the best wrestling. It should be revolutionary.
Yep, it should be like the best of the indies, whatever that famous tournament in 2000, or Battle of Los Angeles, or a classic G1. I have high hopes for it. I think it'll be really cool. Also, I hope I don't know. Actually, no, that's it. I was thinking I'm excited for the judges next week. I know that's on AEW. That's something to look forward to.
Are you going? It's coming back to New Jersey.
Well, it's a pandemic. I don't really want to go to Prudential Center where there are no masks. It's optional in New Jersey to wear a mask inside.
Well, then I support you.
Well, we have a little travel going on that will involve a negative PCR test. So it's best to stay away from there. We'll see.
Wait, a negative PCO test? Is that like when you take the little shockers and clamp them on?
Yes, Brett.
French Canadian Frankenstein.
It's normal. Anyway,
Darren, you had your WFMU best of the year. What'd you play on it?
Check it out.
I listened to it. It was great.
Yeah, it was a good one. Shout outs to all the artists who made good music.
I took a long walk around Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Avoiding people, but listening to your whole show in its entirety was great.
Well, thank you. It was a great year for music. Definitely check that out at WFMU.org. I will say all the artists I played probably could use some coins. So go over to Bandcamp on Bandcamp Friday and buy some of the music I played. Hats off to the artist. I'm just like a garbage collector, just kind of sifting through.
Yeah. I put my little music picks. You can check out my music Instagram, which is kind of a secret, but it's on repeat music.
I always think of it as like a robot. It's like a robot that's doing it.
Like I put Asimo in the picture.
Oh, maybe that's why. Maybe that's why it confuses me.
Yeah, the Honda robot. I Sweeping Promises, Erica DeCassier. I get to see. I get to see a bunch of these special interest. Erica DeCassier, Sparks.
I had some special interest on mine too. A lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
So make sure you check that out. WFMU.org, on repeat music on Instagram.
Maybe there will be live comedy in 2022. I'm not.
You're not gonna be part of that.
We'll see. All the comedy shows are canceled unless they're.
Maybe we'll go to Mania.
Maybe.
No, I'm not going. Neither are you.
Why does it take us out, Darren?
What's my thing? Well, that don't work. All right, that'll do it for Wrestling Club. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to Brett. Shout outs to the man upstairs, Isaiah, Steve D for the theme song, and the fine folks at WFMU Radio. If you dig Wrestling Club, please like, share, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating on the Melcher scale, invite your friends, check out the archive, and follow us on social media. Wrestling Club will return next week live on YouTube with a whole new show, so please check it out. But until then, for Brett, I'm Darren. This has been Wrestling Club. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.